The link for the assignment builder function shows up here in step 3 of the setup wizard after you've defined your assignment categories. It lets you build lots of assignments at once, so it can help save you a bunch of time. I should note, however, that there seems to be a bit of a bug in terms of the default report view column, but I'll point that out when we reach the assignment update screen. You might also notice that there's a Y here in the Settings Found column next to Assignment Builder, even though we haven't done this step yet. This Y appears for some reason if you define more than one assignment category in Step 2, but don't worry, it doesn't affect anything. The sample class I'll be demonstrating with in this video uses assignment points as the overall calculation method, but you can use the assignment builder with any of the 3 calculation methods. So just as a quick reminder, let me bring up the Word document. Here is the breakdown for my sample English 101 class. And just as a quick note, this sheet looks a bit different in the video for assignment weighting. Anyhow, you can see there are a dozen assignments in this class, so using the assignment builder is going to save me a bunch of time. Now I'll switch back to Gradebook, and I'm going to click on the assignment builder link. And I'm taken to the assignment builder screen. In this class, I already defined my 4 categories in step 2 of the setup wizard, and they automatically show up here, along with the calculation method I chose. In this column, I enter the number of points each assignment, generally speaking, is worth in my various categories. You'll see what I mean on the next screen. Now, this number isn't set in stone, and you can change it later on once we get to that next screen. For quizzes, this is easy since they're all worth 5 points. And there are 4 of them, so I put a 4 here in this column for quantity to create now. The column for default assignment weight has already been filled in for me with NAs for not applicable. If I were using assignment weighting as my overall calculation method, this column would be blank, so I could enter a default assignment weight. This column will also be blank if you're using category weighting as your overall calculation method and assignment weighting as your category calculation method. For any categories where you're using category weighting as your overall calculation method and assignment points as the category calculation method, then this column will have the NAs in it, just like we see here. I'm going to go ahead and fill in the default possible points for my other categories and the number of them I have in my class. When I click Submit, it takes me back to the main Setup Wizard screen. So, to see the results of my having just used the assignment builder, I click on Update the Assignments. And it takes me to the assignment setup screen, where I can see that there are now 12 assignments set up for me by category. I'll have to go in and change a few things, but overall, this has saved me a lot of time. I should note that I'm leaving the due date column blank for now, just in the interest of time. What I'll do next is tweak the titles they've given me for quizzes to what I prefer to call them. And then I'll go in and change the names of the tests, homework assignments, and essays. And while that part does seem a bit time-consuming, I found that overall, using the assignment builder is easier than creating assignments individually. The next thing I check is the point values for my assignments. I can see it filled in the default point value I entered, which is helpful for a lot of them, but I have to be sure to adjust the point values for the assignments that are different than what the default is. Here, I just have to change a few of them. Now that I've done that, I'll click Save and Stay to save my work. And next, we'll take a look at the Report View column. And here's where the bug is. You might notice that the Report View column was filled in with Unreported. Unfortunately, that's not what I have as my default report view. If we go back to the main menu of the Setup Wizard, and I click on Step 5 for Display Options, which I'd completed earlier, we can see that my default report view is set to description. And if I go back to the wizard and return to the Update the Assignment screen, if I add another assignment individually, say an essay on Emma by Jane Austen, I set its category to essay, make it worth, let's say, 6 points, and click Save and Stay. We see that, yep, my default really is description. So because of this bug using Assignment Builder, I'd have to go through one by one and change these. If your default report view is unreported, then you'd be good to go. But otherwise, changing these manually does take away from the amount of time you'd save by using the Assignment Builder. So you might want to test out both methods, using the Assignment Builder versus adding assignments one by one, and see which method works best for you. Once I'm done here, I'll click Submit.